Hello, and welcome back to the Cup TV, the Currently Unnamed Podcast, where we put the real and the tea in reality, and you can always come to us first to quench your thirst. My name is Jack. I am the resident game designer of the panel. Lana is off today as she got bit by a snake just getting out of the snake pit last time. Just happens. But I am here to go through today's episode of The Snake, the third to final in our game. We are essentially just getting into the end game at this point. We're just kind of narrowing the field, and we do see a lot of that kind of, well, I guess this is the outcome of today's episode, so we will see how this goes. But before we go ahead and get into it, I have just a couple things to tell you about. First, if you enjoy any sort of reality TV podcasting or anything similar, please feel free to drop a subscription below and hit the bell. We cover everything from Australia versus the world to The Snake to Destination X UK to Big Brother 4 times a week to Project Runway and many other things in between and upcoming as things come out. So please consider giving us a little bit of love here. If you're interested in some drag content, maybe WWE or ESC, you can find channels for both of those in our description. So please feel free to jump down there, as well as a link to our audio podcast and a link to get our lovely cup mugs. They're nice, they're inexpensive, they ship all over the world, so there's no excuse in getting them, and hopefully you'll give a nice little mug a try. But with that said, I say we get into this episode, as surprisingly it is rather dense for an episode that does feel like, unfortunately, it kind of has a foregone conclusion based on last one. So, we hop into this episode. We are just at the final 9 now, after we've had 2 people enter the game. So this is just about the halfway point of the actual cast. Players are kind of reeling from last week's scenarios with with Catherine leaving the game. The problem that everyone kind of realized all at once of, oh, she's trying to play every single person. Let's just excise her from the game and make this nice and easy. So John no longer in power. Everyone is still kind of annoyed by how he approached the round of trying to get all this information from people. A little too blatant in order to get it all together. So people just have marked him as a politician that no one can trust and all that, which, unfortunately, the American view of a politician has not changed. So, what can you do? But we do see just a couple conversations of people saying, I don't think I can really trust Jack in the future. I don't think I can trust that whole side. McLean is like, I'm just going to be more enamored by Jack as every day goes. I'm going to meet his parents once we get back. It's going to be so nice. Everyone else is looking to throw Jack out a window, with basically the exception of Jack and Brett, who are beginning to look as Frank as very much a problem they need to take care of, as Frank is firmly in the middle of this game, and people love him, potentially too much that he won't ever be targeted. But with that said, we do get the lovely little introduction to our box of the week. As always, Catherine has given a box, which is either an advantage or disadvantage, to someone else in the game as a last word. And she decided, surprising no one, to give Jordan an advantage in this challenge. it's not surprising at all. Jordan was basically left on her own, little pissed off, wants revenge against John for basically staging this whole thing to happen, and essentially just leaving her as a house pariah, potentially against everyone else. So we want. There's a way that essentially Jordan can spin this in order to get a lot more of a chance to become the next Snake. But with that, we do head into the Snake competition for the round. And we are back to the Fear Factor, gross out style of competitions. They were all worn beforehand. Hey, don't wear clothes you're actually going to want to wear again. And they all show up in very obviously production given clothes because, oh god. This challenge is them going through muddy water that just has a bunch of chum in it. Fish heads, fish guts, everything that you wouldn't want to eat from a fish. Just lovely in the water. In that water as well is 150 total gold medallions. You can place the medallion into your box, or, as we do see, anyone else's box. And for each medallion that is in a player's box, that player will get one snake egg in a giant roller. And at the end of the challenge, that roller will be rolled like a lottery, and whoever's snake egg comes up wins. I'm not mad at essentially a luck comp being placed so deep into the game. We saw that Alyssa, who people did not expect to win anything, having a run as the Snake provided a very entertaining, provided a boot order that was really entertaining for the game, even though it did result in Jacob going out, who was basically the house target anyway. But just giving a chance for more people to win Snake is something I'm never going to be mad at, especially because a lot of these players have already won the Snake here. We have McLean, Jack, Jordan, Alyssa, Derek, and John all having won before, and I'm going to just double check my notes, but Amanda, Frank, and Brett all haven't. So there's a good chance that we're going to see a repeat here. But essentially, players just immediately jump into it. It's not a very fun visual of people being, of people jumping and ducking into, essentially just fish body parts and muddy water. But we do see some interesting things occur. First, Jordan's advantage is that 2 medallions are already placed into her box, meaning that she already has a good chance of at least having something. Unfortunately, this doesn't really matter much. The other interesting thing that we see is John going, hey, I can't win this right now. It doesn't make sense for me to win. I'm going to throw all of my coins into Frank's box. I'm not going to lie, confusing. Because this is inherently a challenge that if you or Frank win, by John's logic, he is going to be in a safe position. Thereby, why are you not giving yourself the chance to just have the power? That at least inherently doesn't make sense to me. There's no... It isn't like, oh, if someone has the most coins, they get an advantage in the roller. It's not top 3 get in the roller. No, every single coin will be turned into a snake egg that gets put in the roller. So why is John passing it on to Frank? Because John wants Frank to win it. It's not super logical to me. Brett calls it cheating, which is an interesting thing to do. I mean, unless it was explicitly outlined in the rules that you can't do that, then no, it's not cheating. But we just see people go, oh, this is gross, this is disgusting, I'm not liking this, but I need to do it, I just need to get power. And by the end of the comp, we do have just some basic results. So we start with Jordan, who had the advantage of 2 medallions, has a total of 13. She got 11 medallions out of that pool. And this is the lowest. So, ow. Jordan did not do great here. Alyssa got 15. Mac, John, and Amanda all got 18. Derek ended up getting 20. Frank got 37. Jack got 25. And Brett got 22. John got nothing as he spent the entire time dumping into Frank's. Now, just to do some like basic math here, it is 150 coins. So, for example, the lowest players, Jordan and Alyssa. Alyssa has about a 10% chance of being chosen here. Jordan is very slightly under that, like 9.5. Well, actually, it's probably closer to 9%. And Frank near the top has about a 25% chance of being chosen, while Jack and Brett are a lot closer to right around 15%. So, essentially, everyone has a really good shot at being the snake here. There's no overwhelming majority. So, honestly, it just is going to depend on who gets lucky and gets the snake. There isn't really much else to this. But Jim pulls a snake egg out of the tumbler and decides not to say anything. He says, I'm not going to immediately reveal who the snake is this round. Figure it out. This is your time to suck up to everyone. The secret snake will know who they are at some point. They may know earlier, they may not. Suck up to everyone. Go have fun. And players certainly do that. Everyone is kind of just like strategizing about who they'd want out. Amanda and McLean talk about Jack some more. Amanda's like, Jack really has to go as soon as possible at this point. I just really don't trust him. John is holding on to some information of, well, who said they wanted to get rid of Jack last round? Let me consider when I can utilize this. Jack is relatively confident that Amanda is coming after him and that she might just need to be a primary target this round. As well as Brett and Derek just kind of like also being in the mix of like, who do we want to look at this round? Maybe Frank would be a good idea because everyone really likes him and he's going to just continue to be a problem moving forward. But as people begin to strategize and theorize on who it could be, Jim is in the confessional and Jack walks in and is told he is, in fact, the snake for the round. If I'm gonna be honest, this is probably the scenario with the most amount of interesting options and the most amount of devastating options of Amanda, who's been a really good option being a target, Frank, who's been playing a really good under the radar game and being a bridge for multiple people being a target, and John, who last round really pissed everyone off and is an easy house target. So it entirely depends on what Jack kind of wants to push here in terms of game relationship. But he begins to just like disseminate information and kind of just pulls John aside and says, hey, can I just like talk to you really quick? I just want to pick your brain. And John lets slip some very valuable information he learned from the last round. He heard basically 2 names. Most people wanted Catherine gone, but 3 people wanted Jack gone, and those people in particular, Jordan, Alyssa. Okay, wait, I'm making sure I have my own notes right here. Catherine, Alyssa, and Frank all were basically looking at Jack and saying, "You can go. You're a problem that I have to deal with like right now." Unfortunately, Jack twists this into, yeah, Amanda probably threw my name out last round. I should probably get rid of her if I'm thinking about things. Jack and McLean finally have a night in the snake's den because we're deep enough in that they want to be with each other, and they go enjoy their night together, which is cute. I'm not gonna lie, it's not what I'm here for, but good for them. Uh, we start to see seeds of like, okay, Jack is probably going to stay within his group once again. He's gonna pick McLean. McLean's probably going to pick Brett, and then we'll figure out what we want to do from there. People are very much pitching John as like, yeah, what he did last round really pissed me off. I kind of want him gone. Uh, they're trying to figure out a way in order to get, however, other big targets that are in the middle on the bottom of the game, specifically Frank, seeing what they can do about it. Eventually, it is revealed that Jack is the snake, which he has a little celebration for. And basically, after that, it's just a spiral of information and doubt of like, well, Jack is in control. We probably know how this round is going to go. But we head over to the snake pit. Now, there is no twist with the snake pit this time. We already had the secret snake, which was a small twist that basically affected very little. It just allowed for some people to scramble in weird ways. But we do, unsurprisingly, see Jack pick McLean first, who then picks Brett. So great, the boys plus McLean are safe. As an addendum to that, late, we see that Derek gets picked by Brett, as Brett and Derek are working together. And then on the other side of that coin, Derek says, I don't want Amanda to go here, and I'm pretty sure no one else will save her. So I'm going to pick Amanda and make sure that she's good. Amanda then goes ahead and picks Jordan as the person who is apparently alone in the game after the events of last round. And it doesn't make sense for anyone to get rid of her. And as the final thing, Jordan decides, I'm going to go with the girl who apparently doesn't have any girlfriends at home. And I'm going to go ahead and pick Alyssa. So we have a bottom two of Frank and John. Jack is now very torn. He essentially has two options. Option one, take out Frank. It is objectively the better strategic decision, with the small caveat that unfortunately, you're then aligned with John. And people are sick of John. So you're just going to piss people off and maybe become more of a target than you need to be. Or you can take the safe route, eliminate John. He caused a lot of chaos. He gave you information that you can use, but he doesn't need to be here anymore. He's kind of like a night one role in Blow in the Clock Tower. He gave you the information. He can die, and it's not that big of a deal. Nothing is really lost. And, unsurprisingly, like most of the decisions in this game, Jack takes out John. Once again, we are basically playing the safest route for every single round. Basically, except Devontae. Every single round, from essentially Jacob's on, has been the person that has been the least connected and is a social pariah in the house. Which we don't know how the last two episodes of the format are working. We don't know how this game is going to shake down. It could be a lot of micro rounds. It could be a vote. It could be a poisoning chain, which is, just for reference, essentially the inverse of a safety chain where someone is eliminated and then they knock someone out of the game and then they knock someone out, so on and so forth. All of those I see as reasonable options, all things considered, but we shall see. The other thing I did want to give mention to, only because I clocked it, and honestly, we need kind of more of it in the world today, especially with shit that's been going down. I do want to thank John for wearing a trans pride pin on the show. I actually asked him about it because I noticed it. It was a blue, white, and pink molecule on his shirt. I hadn't clocked that it's actually the molecule for testosterone. I am just happy to see that on the show. To be honest with you, Fox as a whole has kind of been very negative towards non cis people. That's probably the way I'm going to word this, and not directly gay or lesbian or bi, but as well, like, even this week we've seen a lot of negativity, especially around attempting to overturn gay marriage in this country. And to see a gay man on reality TV publicly supporting trans pride is something that I can only give my love towards, and hope that we see more, and hope that, even in a game like the Snake, we can still uplift people and still give that visibility, because God, do we need it right now. But on that note, that is the end of our episode today. We are back down to 8 people, 8 original members of this cast. John was the second late entry to leave the game, meaning we're now going to have to figure out what we're doing for the final 2 rounds. Is Frank going to become a public target again? Is Jack now on a snake reign too much of a problem? Jack and McClane are very publicly connected. Are they going to get targeted? All of these questions we shall see. Now, I have a very interesting announcement that I believe is now pretty set in stone. If you go ahead and watch The Snake on Fox, basically at its airing time, I believe the show beforehand is the 1% Club, and next week I will be on that episode of the 1% Club. It's something I filmed in April. It was a lovely experience, and you can feel free to see how well I do there. Will I get $100,000? We'll see. Will I basically get the prize of this show in one 4-hour block? We shall see, because it was a really, really nice time. But until that and the second to last episode of The Snake premiere next week, that is all I have to talk about. So feel free, if you enjoyed this recap, to please subscribe below for all episodes of The Snake that we've recapped previously, and an interview with Jacob that we had done just about partway through the season before he went home. We've also covered all of Destination X and given exit interviews for those. We're ramping up coverage for Survivor Australia versus the World. We're loving Big Brother. We have been loving it now. It was a struggle to get through the past couple weeks, but thankfully we're in a decent spot now. And other than that, get your lovely cup merch at the link in the description below. If you enjoyed my ramblings, my at on Twitter and Blue Sky are below, as well as on Instagram. But hopefully I will be here next week along with Lana to give you more coverage of the snake. But until then, thank you for hanging around. Go check out another video while you're here, and cheers.